Now we will move to our next session, and it is about is Jordan keeping up with emerging technologies? During this session, panelists will highlight some Jordanian success stories and case studies related to emerging technologies, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, blockchain, IoT, by Jordanian companies and startups locally, regionally, and globally. The session moderator, Mr. Saqr Ereiqat, co-founder, managing partner of Crypto Oasis. Welcome to the stage. Also, Engineer Samir Mubarak, chairman of Nafith Logistics. Our moderator will use the first chair. Engineer Samir Mubarak, chairman of, yes, he's with us. Engineer Ruba Darwish, country manager of BWB. We had lunch together. BMB. What did I say? BWB. Oh, BMW. BMB. Engineer Ruba Darwish, country manager of BMB. Dr. Hussein Al-Natssheh, chief data scientist Beyond Limits. Engineer Alaa Daboubi, managing director, co-founder of Synaptic Technologies.
احنا عارفين انه بعد الغداء we're slowly getting tired بس يعني بدنا شوية حماس للspeakers الجماعة. They're impressive people, but maybe we can have a big round of applause for the speakers here on stage. Thank you so much. يعطيكم ألف عافية. It's an absolute honor and a pleasure to be here with you today on something that is very close to my heart, something that I believe in passionately. It is emerging technologies, emerging technology adoption in our home country, Jordan. Allow me to get a quick feel for the room. How many people are here from the UAE? Maybe a quick show of hands. Okay, that's half the room roughly. How many people have joined us from Jordan? ما شاء الله. أهلا وسهلا فيكم. Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you all here. For anyone that doesn't know the space that we are in right now, this was the desert just 5-6 years ago. Right now, I look around me and I see some of the best designs in the world. I see the entire world coming together here in the UAE. And for that, I think our host country, the UAE, and the leadership of the UAE. Let's have a quick round of applause and a big round of applause for the UAE and what they've done so far. And with that, to our panel, and it's an absolute honor to have such a strong panel here to talk about emerging technologies. I've had the pleasure to meet everyone here. I was honestly impressed. يعني مش إنه بلا صغرى بالجماعة ما شاء الله عليكم. But when I heard about their experience, I was absolutely impressed. I mean, we have people here that have really defined thought leadership in emerging technologies, but I'll leave it to each one of the panelists to present their experience. So maybe in 10 to 30 seconds, not a very long one, maybe a quick introduction.
I'm Samir Mubarak again from Nafith Logistics. We work in the space of logistics, but we utilize a lot of high tech into our operations. And today I will be talking about these high-tech innovations coming out of Jordan to support our operations regionally and around the world.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Ruba Darwish. I'm the country manager for BNB Jordan and a regional BDM for them. I'm also a board member of Intaj. Basically, I'm deeply involved with the tech industry in Jordan, with the startups, with the corporates, with all the emerging technologies, with the initiatives that Jordan is coming up with to support pushing Jordanian IPs forward and to push forward women in tech. So I'll be focusing more on that and the new trends coming up in the world.
Thank you very much, Ruba.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Alaa Daboubi. I'm the Managing Director and Co-founder of Synaptic Technologies. First of all, thank you, Saqr, and thank you, JOITED, for having us all together today. Basically, Synaptic Technologies, we started this company 14 years ago, 2008, in Amman, Jordan. And we are a system integrator. We have adopted a lot of different web technologies, and we've been implementing these technologies across different vertical and horizontal markets in Jordan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Hussein.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Hussein Al-Natssheh. I'm Jordanian, living in Abu Dhabi, UAE. I'm a specialist in artificial intelligence applications and innovation, currently working with Beyond Limits. It's a leading enterprise software, AI based in Los Angeles, expanding here in the region after a big investment from G42. They injected $100 million to expand their operations in the region. Happy to be here and looking forward to talk more about the company and the emerging technologies we have bringing to the region in Jordan and UAE. Thank you.
MashaAllah. Thank you very much for the introduction. If I may add, Hussein is very humble in his introduction. He's actually been a fellow at CERN, which is one of the leading research entities around the world, and has brought us the basis of Arabic AI. So I think this is very important for us to know. Maybe, Ruba, having you as the lady on the panel, so we have to start with you. You're very passionate about emerging technologies, women in tech. Maybe we start there. What are emerging technologies?
Well, that's a big question. Emerging technologies. It's everything that's redefining the world we're going to live in today, tomorrow, and probably for the coming 10 years. There is a lot of focus on certain topics and certain technologies when it comes to cybersecurity, because this is a big trend now, and there's a global interest in it, global spending. With digital acceleration and with COVID, the demographics have changed. So we're seeing more attacks, and I think Alaa will talk more about cybersecurity, so I'm not going to take part of that, more from that topic. The second thing I think we're looking at, and there's a big hype about, is the metaverse, how the metaverse is going to affect our lives. What does it mean? How are we going to live? Is it going to have us all live in a virtual world, or are we going to be completely disconnected? Of course, AI and the impact of AI, and I'm sure Dr. Hussein is going to talk more about that. When it comes to women in tech, this is extremely important. Under Intaj, we're leading an initiative called SheTechs. It's all about women enablement in technology. We believe women are main contributors to the digital economy. Women have a lot of talent, skill set that can be utilized across the board when we talk about technology. Technology today is not one specific thing. It's in everything we do in our lives. It's in health, it's in agriculture, it's in finance, it's in everything you can think of. And I always like to say that I'm a personal believer that technology is hope. Why? Because it enables you to do things you're not able to do. You wouldn't have been able to do before, like women working from home. You know, in Jordan,
anyone working from home, مش بس women.
Anyone can work from home now. So, for example, in the governorates, right, women never had the opportunity to get a job in tech. Now, with technology, they are able to. And I've seen very impressive women in Jordan, and actually across the region. I've been privileged to meet women even in different Arab countries. They're all very impressive, and I think it's a great time to give the opportunity to these women to be part of the workforce and to contribute to the economy.
I'm a big supporter. Yeah, I think that deserves a round of applause. Thank you. I'm a big supporter. Growing up in a household where my sister was the oldest and we were the followers, so I do believe in women leadership, and I do believe actually, and I'll say that, and I know I'm being recorded, I believe women are the better leaders than men, right? Now, Hussein, from your point of view, I know you've been in this space for the last, God knows, 15 years, 20 years. Watching this space go, you've had a successful exit in one of the emerging technologies. What do you believe, from your experience, right, and looking at these past 15 years, what do you believe the opportunity is right now for us?
Okay, so since you mentioned maybe the beginnings and 15 and plus years ago, the opportunities is always there. And at that time, like when I was starting early to learn about AI from colleagues in university, having a master's degree at that time, back to 2004, I found that a big opportunity, how to take this technology to solve the problems in the industry and actually create value. At that time, the term AI was very vague. Business world doesn't believe in such technology to be actually of a value. So I had to start up my own business at that time too. And thanks to the fund I got from the European Commission, the Jordanian government, it got incubated in IPARC back to 2009, get some training from Queen Rania Center for Entrepreneurship. For me, at that time, in a small country such as Jordan, it's actually very inspiring and encouraging and doesn't give any excuse to anyone to start actually and do things, even if the terms and the science is still in very early stage. I got exited with one of the biggest companies in the region, Moldova, starting an AI division there. And now working for a US-based company, actually a spin-off from NASA, JPL Lab. NASA has 11 laboratories there. One of them, Jet Propulsion Lab, is the one is responsible for Mars missions and rovers. It's the same story, actually, back to what I started. They have a lot of technologies. They see a value not to keep this technology just for space research. Why not to take it and commercialize it and make a commercial company out of that? That idea was brilliant from AJ Abdullah and Mark James at that time. In 2014, NASA get shares in the company. They went to British Petroleum. They had 6 use cases that no other companies could solve, including Microsoft, IBM, and others. And thanks to that special technology that has been developed by financing from the US government over decades and hundreds of millions, they came up with like a special type of AI, what we call the human-like reasoning. This technology allowed us at Beyond Limits to solve these problems, generate products, take it from industry to another. Now we're operating in healthcare, and fintech, and utilities, everything that touch everyone's life, like water, health, energy. Today, I think we are still scratching the surface. AI has a huge potential. We are only limited by the computational power. Now we're talking about computing, quantum computing that will open a different era of high-performance computing.
Maybe before you move on from quantum computing, I'm glad you touched on it. Maybe in a couple of sentences, what is quantum computing?
When you deal with like a huge amount of data, and instead of using like silicon-based, actually everyone knows today that we have a global challenge now in that industry. Semiconductors is now like a challenge. I think it's recently become to a realization. Before it was a research project in universities in some countries like Canada, US, and others. Now, thanks to IBM and other companies who are leading this technology, it's becoming more visible. They see how it can take it to a commercial place. You mentioned, for example, said that I served there a couple of years. Maybe you don't know, but CERN is like a high-energy physics research, pure research organization in Europe. But because of them, we have medical imaging. We have even the pointer of the mouse. The web were created thanks to CERN. And we're trying to do the same with NASA today and bring this technology and latest technologies. These emerging technologies is not only for these first world countries. Now the world, as everyone knows, is open. They are looking into talents, into markets. Middle East is actually one of the very promising markets. You have all the components. You have finance from the GCC. You have high talented people from countries like Jordan, big markets like Egypt, Saudi Arabia. You almost have everything. And thanks to the good collaboration between these governments and openness with the US government and others, it's become a very important market. It's gaining momentum. And we are starting seeing a lot of success stories and use cases. And I think it's still the start. What we can do and what's now emerging, I think the future today in digital health and smart cities, a lot to bring from the AI. Most of people today knows AI as machine learning, deep neural networks, but there is much more to adopt, unsupervised learning and others that actually will bring us to the future.
Wonderful. So we've heard about how with NASA, you're taking some IP, you're applying it to different areas, and you believe that really the low-hanging fruits or the future can be in health tech, can be in the application of AI on smart cities and other areas. I think this is wonderful. Samir, over to you. If we think about a gentleman like you, you are actually using this in the real world. How are you using these emerging technologies in the real world?
I think we started basically thinking of, Nafith is quite a large company operating in multiple countries, and we rely on efficiencies. Because of the scale, you need more efficiency, and we use tech to add efficiency to the supply chain. And sometimes in seconds actually make a huge difference for us in processing cargo and cargo in and out of logistics hubs and so on. Since as early as we started in 2001, we utilized RFID technology when it was just a mere mention of it was, ignited discussions.
Very early, yeah.
Yeah, in 2001. And we used a lot of machine vision back then. We used electronic gates and command and control centers in 2001. Fast forward 2010, we managed to implement this actually in Jordan, whereby we utilized something called UHF RFID and secure RFID, basically, which now, for the last 5 years, has become more in the public space. But back then, it was still, then we needed something called secure corridors for cargo, and we started utilizing something called electronic seals, and we had to utilize our brains in Jordan to be able to create things that were not around the world. So we created something called the electronic seal, and we really had to invent how the electronic seal is now manufactured. And we invented even the equations for RFID and so on, and we patented it from China to Brazil and all across in between.
And that IP came out of Jordan?
Exactly. It's a patented technology, and it has been licensed twice. So this is the most important part. The actual patent, when it's licensed, it's licensed to Italy and Denmark. And then we moved on along the years. We started in 2017, for example, using something, deep vision, which is a form of deep learning and a form of AI. And deep vision, we actually try to use it in logistics for more security around the supply chain. And with that, in 2017, we just did R&D, basically. And we've historically spent in R&D in the field of tech and logistics around 250,000 JDs every year since 2010. And actually increased that spending since 2017. And finally, we managed to create, for example, edge computing using very small and optimized processing power just at the edge, because most places, and even with 5G, we probably can't process. We still have to use edge computing. And as you know, there are challenges in edge computing in Jordan, because some of that technology cannot import it into Jordan. So we use our other branches to be able to support that. And currently, in 2019, we rolled out our first deep vision cameras that can increase security of the supply chain many-folds. And accordingly, now we utilize that technology much more than we used before. Recently, our latest filed patent in 2020 was in something called single-step weighing of cargo. And this one is supposed to be a big disruptor, but currently the patent was registered, and it utilizes multiple technologies. at the same time in what we call deep tech. So it's deep vision, a lot of deep learning as well, in addition, to increase the efficiency of logistics hubs like ports or free zones by at least 20% in processing trucks and
20%.
20%.
An increase through use of technology.
Exactly.
Impressive.
Through this use of this new technology. Currently, we're piloting this. We're starting to pilot this in Europe and Spain, to be specific. And that's our first piloting hub. And then we're going to add another hub probably in North America for the piloting of this patent.
Wonderful. You know, the name of the panel is How Are We Keeping Up with Emerging Technologies? If you listen to the panelists, it's clear that now Jordan is exporting emerging technologies, exporting IP, and that's something I think we should all be proud of. Now, coming from that positive point of view of, you know, there's a large opportunity here, to someone that by design needs to be very critical in his job, Alaa, with cybersecurity. I'd like you to provide us really with a set of challenges that you see from a cybersecurity point of view. We've heard about how we're using NASA technology. We've heard about emerging technologies, how these emerging technologies have actually come to life in a supply chain scenario. I'd like for you to take maybe a little bit of a critical look at what are the risks that are related to this.
Well, you know, first of all, I think we owe our audience an answer, is because the name of the topic is like, is Jordan keeping up with emerging technologies? Well, I would say yes. And definitely Jordan is keeping up with emerging technologies. And the answer, I believe that you have seen this answer throughout the session since morning. I believe all our delightful guests that you have seen, they were talking about all different emerging technologies that we are talking about now. And yes, we have all what it takes to have these emerging technologies deployed and adopted in Jordan. Now, cybersecurity is one of these. Cybersecurity is not a new field, I would say. However, it is a relatively very risky area of doing business.
And it's more relevant now than it's ever been.
Definitely. Cybersecurity in Jordan, let's talk about first about what we have seen. We've been doing this business since 2008, and throughout these years we have seen a lot of changes in the market. And cybersecurity is affecting a lot of different verticals in different manners. So if you talk about government, you're talking about defense, you're talking about education, health service providers, individuals themselves. So you see a lot of different risks that is addressing these people. And regarding the technologies themselves, there have been developed a lot of different technologies to address each and every vertical of these. The issue is always funding is great, I would say, obstacle, because always emerging technologies, as we know, when they get launched, even in the Americas or wherever, it's an expensive industry to invest in. So, and the risks that is growing year after year, it's influencing all business owners to spare budgets for such technologies. And, you know, there's a big argument always whether to have on-premise setups, how to secure these on-premise setups, or to have your cloud installations, and how also to secure these cloud installations and secure these cloud setups. There is another thing that is also affecting all different individuals when you say about like cybercrime itself, because entities are not only the, I would say, the victims, because individuals are also targets today. So that's, in Jordan, we do have the cybercrime units, and these have been established for over than 15 years now. It's very well mature, and we do have a lot of different units and different security entities as well that is handling such risks and threats. And again, it's an ongoing race, because if you're talking about the risks, it's an ongoing race, because every day new methods and new ways of trying to hack different entities are coming out. And again, technology leaders are trying also to keep up with them and to be a step ahead
And are you seeing that in an uptake from your clients? Are you seeing an increase of client interest?
Definitely. Budgets in cybersecurity are being more and more allocated in different customers. Everybody, actually in Jordan also, we have been building our own National Crisis Management Center that has been launched last year. I believe also there's a national cybersecurity program that has been deployed also for a couple of years now. Phase 1, Phase 2 is coming on its way.
And that's on national level?
Yes,
right.
on a national level, covering all different agencies and the government, and also it has its own program and phases in the future for the government. As well, we do have some SOCs as well that are providing these services, SOC as a service for all different customers. But again, funding and budgeting is always a challenge, because this is really an area that the resources are really it's hard to find resources. However, in our universities in Jordan, we do have cybersecurity courses, we do have cybersecurity master degree, so we are providing the market and the region around us with such caliber and resources.
Perfect, and it's great to see that it seems everyone here agrees and everyone on the other panels agrees that there seems to be a great chance for that talent to develop. Now, if you'd give me an hour with each one of you, I would still have more questions that could be in one way or the other interesting for the audience. Having said that, we're coming to the end of this, and you know we're live here on Facebook, we're live on various channels, we have a massive audience here, and you are experts in your domain. I'd like to ask you to give us one, maximum 3 parting thoughts of what it takes for Jordan to be an emerging technology leader, not just a player in the space. And I'll start with Ruba.
So allow me first to just elaborate on a very, very important point that a lot of people mentioned today. It's the skill set in Jordan.
Right.
And one of the key things we're trying to do is increase the number of Jordanian IPs in the country, because we truly believe today it's all about startups that contribute to the economy and will help the economy grow. So what we're doing, we have a couple of initiatives, one of which is TechAid. TechAid is an initiative that was established by Intaj during COVID, because we wanted to encourage Jordanian IPs to overcome the challenges of COVID. And then we decided to go on with the initiative because we found absolutely amazing startups in Jordan that had brilliant ideas. And today we're in season 2. We finished cohort 1 and we're on to cohort 2. So it's all about supporting Jordanian startups. We also have another initiative called Himaya Tech. It's supporting startups in the cybersecurity field. We do not have enough of cybersecurity startups in Jordan, and this is something else we're focusing on. And of course, this is all under the umbrella of Intaj. The other thing is supporting women startup, supporting women again in the tech field. You know, it's a personal thing that I'd like to say. Jordan has great potential to become one of the most countries that would support youth in the region, tech youth. We have a lot of ideas, we have a lot of initiatives, a lot of the ideas that went around the Middle East, you know, were always started in Jordan. His Majesty's vision in 2000 was to start with the concept of e-government. And from that day on, a lot of ideas, startups that made it globally started from Jordan. So,
but Ruba, maybe I can bring you back, because you're already providing 2 to 3 recommendations that we can give to the wider audience.
So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to have MENA ICT Forum happening in Jordan in November. And this is bringing all startups from the region and global corporates, speakers across the region to come to Jordan actually and live this experience. And I think the Ministry of Investment now, the new ministry, is doing a lot of initiatives to bring in investors to the country. We have A lot of the sessions today focus on what a great place Jordan is to host anyone who needs real skill set in the tech field. So this is what I'm finishing up with.
So building communities, working to enable an investment ecosystem. Samir, 2 to 3 recommendations. I can see a blaring 0 coming out at me. So in as fast as possible, recommendations, please.
First recommendation is, I think we have the talent in Jordan. We have the capability. I think we need more R&D. I think companies need more R&D into the space of new technology and trying it as tools for your business. There is not sufficient. There's also a need, second idea, there's also a need in working with universities and universities accepting that within that R&D programs and so on. So that when we have graduates, they can actually expand and become proficient in certain technologies at the vertical end. And the third, and this is something from a session which I attended in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. And it's basically Portex, and it's a startup framework for the port and for the logistics industry. And there's massive participants. And I watched where people pitched their startups. And the one thing I noticed that the average age was around 45.
Right.
Was not, they were all experienced people having good ideas coming from out of their experience, who instead of becoming consultants, they became new startups.
Right, and founders.
And it's actually a great thing to see that, because most of these startups had a better chance of success.
Right.
So my recommendation is, for all of us, if you feel that at one point in time you can start with a new idea, start it up. Don't wait. There's
Wonderful.
no age for that.
That's super. Thank you very much, Samir. Alaa.
Well, I would like to say something. Regardless of all the complexity of technology that we are seeing today across all over the world, I believe that we are still at the dawn of the technology era. So I believe humanity has a very long way to go in this area. So Jordan, to be a leading country for emerging technologies needs a lot of investment. I would say investment is
Number one is investment.
Number one, yes. And investment whether locally from inside Jordan or from regionally or
right.
from outside to bring these investments to Jordan. It's to become a leading hub, to build R&D centers as well. I salute the company beyond that. They are, I believe that you are working on having such a hub in Jordan. So this is what the momentum that we are trying to bring to our country, such events to let the world know what our companies, what our people are capable of doing, and how we can move forward with this journey.
So investment and outreach. Thank you. Hussein.
Yeah, I will be brief, but I would like to share a short story about why Jordan and emerging technologies. I was discussing with our group CTO and founder, who spent decades at NASA as a chief scientist. I told him why you are considering Jordanians to our team. He said we have access to Mexican market, Ukraine, East Europe, India, even have interns, PhD interns from California. They tried interns from Jordan 2 years ago, and they bring them to Los Angeles, stayed 3 months. He said, saying, I saw something I didn't see in any other candidates come from different countries. I see passion, commitment. They look for a chance to prove themselves. And he wants to invest more on that. That's why we decided to have our regional tech center in Jordan. And the way we are thinking it would work is have what we call on-job training, in which we hire them and start training them while they are working. We will assign 3 mega projects that we are working on globally to the Jordan Tech Center. And we are enabling them also to try and use Jordan as a lab and solve some national problems. Today we are talking, for example, with Aqaba Water to bring one of the IPs we have from NASA, which is sensor placement. quickly. I will not take time. But to show you how we bring emerging technologies to Jordan. You know, the first reconstructed image for black holes, they had a problem where to place telescopes on Earth. The problem is to find the minimal number of these because they're very expensive, and where to place them. Today, if you want to, we have a big problem with water resources in Jordan. And 40% of the water losses in Jordan is actually due to water leakage. Because of like old network, thieves taking water. So if you can use such an algorithm to define where and what's the minimal number of sensors, smart sensors, which is very expensive, to place in the distribution network. And this is what we are doing today with Jordanian data scientists, Jordanian software engineers, and many, many more use cases. Once it's proved, commercialized, have it as a product, it can go not only for the region, but for the whole world. Like it comes from the region to our offices in Pacific Asia. We have 5 offices there, and back to the US.
So your recommendation, enable that ecosystem of technology players, allow them with the right IP, right investments, enabling the ecosystem, investing into R&D heavily, and creating specific industry-specific incubators and accelerators. This is gold, by the way. Right? MashaAllah alaikum. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for an active participation from the audience. And as I said, I could go for 2 hours with you guys each. And thank you for your time. And sorry for rushing this in the end. A big round of applause for the panelists, please.